Welcome to This Week in Indian Hill Brave Sports here in the all-new IndianHillBraves.org and ESP Media powered by Sidearm Sports. I'm Jason Griefer, and each and every week we discuss all things Braves athletics with AD Brian Phelps. Brian, good to be back with you again. How are things up in your neck of the woods?
Things are rolling. I think all our teams are doing well, and we're excited that we got another week to play, and we're just taking it one week at a time.
And to your point, all of your teams are playing well, and we're going to do a lot of bragging, I think, on this show here today. Let's start off on the gridiron. Your football team has made it look easy through 3 weeks, 3-0, outscored your opponents by 124 points thus far. You've got Reading coming up this week. What have the coaches been saying about the level of consistency they've had coming right out of the gates after all the uncertainty, knowing if we would even have a season? And yet through 3 weeks, I'll say it, they've just come out and bludgeoned every opponent thus far. What have the coaches been saying about the team's performance?
Well, I think they're typical football coaches, and they're probably focusing more on the things that they can correct for the next week than patting their kids on the back too much at this point of the season. And, it's easy to start feeling good about yourself when you're playing pretty well and putting points on the board. But our coaches do a really good job talking about the big picture of the season. And yes, we're week to week, and we want to take care of each CHL opponent and prepare the best that we can. But hopefully we're playing a lot more than just 6 regular season games. And they're keeping that in perspective, and they are really trying to make sure that they're honing in on every minute detail and every mistake made, because that's really what's going to count in the end.
Halfway through it, as we said, this week they're at Reading, so we'll be keeping tabs on that one for sure. Let's move on to cross country. They were just in action this past weekend in the Mason Invite. How did the team feel coming out of that one, and how are they looking getting ahead for the Eaton Invitational this coming weekend?
I'm going to switch gears just a little bit with cross country. Our coaching staff does a great job with our kids, but I got an email on Saturday night from the Batavia head coach just complimenting one of our kids. Her name's Courtney Winker. Mm-hmm. Something she did during the race when one of their kids was struggling. And I just think that is a true testament of what our cross country team is about. They're out there training hard to run well every time, but the bigger pictures they have in mind too. And just, what she did to support their runner just wants me to brag about that program and kind of focus, that kind of effort on what our kids are doing. We hear about the wins and the losses, and maybe when some things don't go so well and things do go well, but at the heart of athletics, this is the kind of stuff that we want to celebrate.
Sure. When you heard about that, did that surprise you?
It didn't. I kind of the chill bumps a little bit, just that someone else would take time to recognize one of your kids. And, you think about it, you think about Sue Savage, who runs that program, and it doesn't surprise me a bit. I think that she teaches sportsmanship with those kids, and I think that's a direct reflection of, not only what the kid has inside, but what our coaches are trying to coach and teach both our boys and girls on that team.
When you see and hear stories like that come in, how does that make you feel? Not only as an athletic director, but just as a person, seeing that, yes, as you said, wins and losses get a lot of the attention, but to hear and see that your coaches are also focused on churning out quality people as they move through high school and onto college, what comes to mind?
Well, I'm new here, as you know, and,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that I'm big with is talking about how do we teach sportsmanship and how do we teach leaders. And I've been part of some student leadership programs, and these are the types of things that remind you that it is possible. We can do these kinds of things together, and we can turn out kids that are not only great athletes and great in the classroom, but just great people. And when I can use these types of things as an examples, I think it really kind of catches fire with the rest of the programs and just makes our job a little bit easier when we have these type of concrete examples that we can point out.
Absolutely, and we're glad to talk about it here on the show. That's for certain. And congratulations to that young lady for doing the right thing. You can definitely say that for sure. Let's move on. Let's talk about volleyball right now. In a good spot right now in the CHL. It's early in the conference season, tied for third, just one game out of first. You're going to get Taylor this coming week, and then in the second of 4 straight road matches. So not an easy trek right now through the league. But if you come through this on the other side of it, maybe all 4 wins, maybe you go 3-1 in this, how big would that be for the team, knowing that you have the benchmark in the league in Wyoming next Tuesday?
The league is up for grabs, and you said it. Our coaches are preparing our kids for the next match, not trying to look too ahead. We know they're all tough. They could all go either way. We feel but it's nice to know we're right in the mix and we have a chance, and we'll see what happens this week, and then kind of worry about next week. And but it is a nice feeling to know at this point in the season, we still have a chance. We're playing some pretty good volleyball. And as you said, it is a gauntlet coming up, and we'll see what happens.
Big week coming ahead. We'll talk about it next week, and we'll get a little more in depth on that matchup with Wyoming come next week. Let's move on to the links. Boys golf, boy, you could not set up the schedule any better than how things have turned out. Now you're in a 3-way tie atop the league with Madeira and Marymount. It's a 3-horse race to win the league title. And oh, by the way, there's a tri match between the 3 out at Camargo today, so you can't ask for much more than that. Have you sensed maybe an increased focus in the team in the days and maybe last week or 2 leading up to this match, knowing that this was coming and that these are the 2 other schools that are going to be right there competing for the league title?
I'm not going to overblow it and say, man, this has been the circle, date on the calendar. I think our kids are just playing and they're enjoying it, and they feel like they're shooting some pretty good rounds, and it's kind of like, that's our next match, and we need to take care of our business. We'll see what happens at the end of the day. But there's confidence on that team, and I don't think it's an over I don't think they're overconfident. I just think they know they're playing well, and it's easy to be excited about playing at Camargo Country Club, and when you have 2 opponents like that, to play with, it just makes it even that much more fun.
Since you're not on the course and letting the coaches handle it, who wins?
Well, I'm just going to keep that one to myself, I think.
It's just you and me talking here. Nobody's listening or watching.
Yeah, I know that trap.
I think we have an idea. Let's move on. Let's talk about the girls. Just finished up the CHL championship, second place finish there, behind Wyoming. Do they feel like they're on the right track as we wind down the regular season, just a couple of weeks before the sectionals?
They're so excited. They had a good day. I had a chance to see them tee off and, play a little bit of golf, and there was some good competition, and to kind of get those final scores coming in that we finished second in the CHL. We said from day one, every week, these girls are getting better, and they're proving it. It's not just scores, but they're showing up to competitions and finding ways to win. And the CHL is kind of what they're playing for right now, or we're playing for right now. Now we'll move on to the tournament and see how far at least a couple of our girls can go. We have some nice young girls golfers.
Do you feel like you've got a couple in there that could maybe make a run?
We do. I'm not as well versed of what girls golf looks like in the city outside of our league and who we're playing, but I know that if nothing else, they're going to get some good experience for however far they can make it, and we'll build upon that for the years to come.
Let's move on to the pitch. Let's start with boys soccer, sitting in a 3-way tie for third in the CHL. They're just 1 game back of Marymount, so it's a very tight race. It is still early in the season, but you're going to get Marymount this coming week. Marymount has been spectacular thus far. They are undefeated on the year, 8-0-0 thus far. What will it take for your team to knock off Marymount, which nobody's been able to do, and try and move yourself to the top of the standings?
Yeah, Brian Daniel, our boys coach, we were just talking about it this morning, and although it was a draw this past weekend, he really felt like they turned the corner and probably played at least the best half of soccer they've played this year, which is exactly what he was hoping going into this game. And I know we feel like we can compete. Mariemont's a very, very good program year in and year out, and this year is no different. We know that, and but it's nice knowing we feel like we've played well going into a game like this, and the ball just needs to bounce a couple lucky bounces sometimes to make all the difference. We'll see what happens, but we respect Mariemont, and we're excited to play that game coming up.
The girls they're in a similar story here. They're tied with Mariemont at the top of the league. They're both teams are 2-0. They're going to play Mariemont this coming Wednesday. These two teams are about as good defensively as we're going to find, not only in the CHL, but I would argue throughout Greater Cincinnati. Both teams have allowed just 4 goals the entire season. Given that, how important will offensive execution be in this match, given how good both teams are defensively?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, our girls are so gritty, and they just find ways to dig deep. And, I'm guessing that my coach would say they're going to play the way they always play. They're going to play really good defense. And when they get their chances on offense, they need to capitalize. But I don't see a big strategy change to try to, score a couple extra goals in that game. They're good. They're fun to watch. They're tough. And, we know Mariemont's tough as well. It's going to be a great CHL matchup, and we just might have to dig a little bit deeper. And, in a game like that, sometimes a little bit of luck helps, and maybe we can find the back of the net a couple times and keep them out of it.
With the way both these teams like to play defensively, as you said, very gritty, and Mariemont's kind of the same way, is it almost a thought of, if you don't leave this match with a couple of cuts or a couple of bruises or a couple of scrapes, that you didn't go all out?
Well, let me be on the record for saying I'm not condoning violence.
No. But the way we expect the physical play from these two teams, there has to be some battle wounds coming out of this. Would there not be?
Absolutely. After a game like this, both teams are gonna know they took the opposing team's best shot, and when that happens, you're a little sore, you're a little, but that's the way they like it. That's the way that we expect it to be, and that's kind of what makes it so much fun too.
Yeah, well, plenty of ice at the ready for the players after that one. That's for sure. Let's talk about field hockey. As we talked in our last conversation, they were just getting ready to get going here. How are they looking thus far in the first couple of weeks?
I'll tell you what, they are 5-0. And just, whether it's the parents in the stands or the kids on the field, there's a little bit of, what's going on here? We're actually playing really well, and it's a lot of fun. It's just, the chemistry's been great. I think the coaching staff has done a good job keeping the girls, focused, and really they haven't had to do that much. Our senior leadership, you always talk about senior leadership, but our seniors have been outstanding. Just the culture of the program, finding ways to win. Our first 4 games, it was like, okay, well, that was a lot of fun. And then we traveled over to St. Ursula Academy and said, okay, we know this is going to be pretty tough. And to come out of that game winning 6-1, I think just made the girls believe that we have a legit shot to have a great season this year. So it keeps coming, though. We have Ursuline coming up tomorrow, and we know that's going to be a tough game. But we are not only competing, but we're finding ways to just play some great field hockey. And it's fun. As an athletic director, you kind of always have your favorite sports, although you can't maybe say that out loud. And it's hard for field hockey not to be one of my favorite sports right now. They're just, with the energy they're playing with and the winning, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is, and especially the way they've been winning, as you said, pretty impressive thus far. Lastly, here we'll talk about girls. Talk about the girls' tennis. As you said, they keep finding ways to win. Last time we talked, they kind of a tough start in the non-conference, 1-2, and since the last time we've talked, 6 matches, 5-0 every time out here. Was there any kind of special message delivered after the loss to Mason, or was this something that, like we talked about, there was no sense of panic and they knew the turnaround was coming?
There wasn't a coaches and players meeting or a captain's meeting of what's going on. This is exactly what we kind of expected, really. We knew the first few matches, they were scheduled that way on purpose. Those are some of the best teams in the state, Division I. I mean, Mason is about as good as it gets, at that level. And no, I mean, I think if you talk to our coaches or kids, that's why we play tough early. And we've been playing really well. We just third round of the GCTCA state tournament, Seven Hills, who's always a talented team. And to come out of that with a 5-0 win was pretty awesome. We most likely will play Oakwood next. That'll send us on to the state. We know that's going to be a tough test for us, and that's kind of what they're gearing up for right now, that Oakwood match.
Given how long this program has been successful and it has been at the top of the league and it has competed on a state level, I'm guessing, you're new to you're new to Indian Hill there. You're not getting any sense of complacency from these athletes, and they know that yes, we're off to a good start in the league, but we've come to expect that, and they can still raise their game and meet those expectations each time out.
I don't think there's any complacency going on right now. I think that the goal is in front of them. Their eyes are on the prize, kind of thing. All that kind of stuff, and they're working hard every day to get better, to kind of get to the hopefully finish off the CHL and then get into the tournament and see how far we can go.
Lastly, before I let you go, now we're in the middle of September. We're really in the throes of this fall sports season. And even when we last talked a couple of weeks ago, we weren't sure what the fall season was going to look like. Would it last? Thankfully, to this point, there's not been any stoppages in play for you. Given that you're the new man on campus here at Indian Hill, now that we're into the season, is it more stressful now that the season's going, or is it less stressful now that you're actually able to see these kids go out and compete?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that there's been a lot of stress, I think for everybody. I think now that everybody's back in school, you just worry about an outbreak it's never anyone's fault, but you start rolling, and any of our sports, like we mentioned, they're all doing such a great job, and you'd hate for kind of an outside something that we have no control over to kind of shut something down. So I think about that every day. We're asking our coaches and kids to continue to follow every protocol that's in place. It's getting tiring on people, parents, kids, coaches.
Sure.
But we have to keep the course and give our kids a chance the best we can. But no, there is a lot of stress just knowing there are so many factors that we can't control, and just living day by day kind of with it.
Are you at least able to enjoy watching athletic competition, even if it's just for a few minutes, and able to block out all the noise and wondering, okay, I have this meeting here. What's the ticketing going to be for this one here? Are you at least able to escape that for a little bit each week?
That's a good question. That's one I've been asked plenty of times. And I've got to say, there's not a whole lot of enjoying the events. I feel like I don't get a chance to be a fan. There's always something going on. And that's what I miss about, as much as I love sports, I wish that I could sit in the stands and just enjoy and not worry about everything that might be going wrong, or who doesn't have a mask on, or what's going on at the ticket gate. So no, not really. There's not been a whole lot of that, but we're going to get back to as normal as possible sometime soon, and that'll relieve some of that stress. And I'm just glad that our kids have an opportunity to find success and play every day, and that's really where the joy comes from, I guess, not the actual watching the event right now.
Well, we've gotten a lot of enjoyment out of all of your fall sports programs thus far through the season, and we're still glad to have the season. And as I said before, nothing's been postponed, called off, whatever you want to call it, and we're happy for that as well. Brian, great catching up with you once again, and next week let's do it again. Let's brag some more on some of your student athletes. What do you say?
Sounds great. Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. That is Indian Hill Athletic Director Brian Phelps joining us here for This Week in Indian Hill Braves Sports here on the all-new IndianHillBraves.org and ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.